Good morning and welcome to day 3 here in Las Vegas. Keeping the streak alive on Las Vegas Boulevard this morning. So I hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning back in. All right, so I had every intention of recording this on my way from the hotel to the conference today, and a fear of recording in public got the best of me. What can I say? But anyway, bringing you the day 2 recap now from the hotel. And yesterday was a pretty good day. I think slightly different than what we saw on day 1. It was really less about the framework and more about real deployments, real workflows and trade-offs that organizations have been making with a sprinkling of sales pitches here and there. But anyway, a couple of things kind of rang true throughout the day. First and foremost, trust and skepticism in engineering specifically. One of the things that a speaker shared was that PayPal, of course, has adopted AI, like any company, right? But during their journey, 46% of developers actively distrusted AI. That was actually determined through a Stack Overflow survey. And so there's an update due to be released in October for that one. It actually took them, PayPal, roughly a year to move engineers from skeptical to confident. So, here at PayPal, they started with basic coding assistance, to the likes of things like Copilot and Cursor. And then, as time progressed, they shifted to agentic engineering at around that 2 to 3 month frame to start building some familiarity, building comfort. But, nevertheless, it was not something that happened overnight like a lot of people think. They went on to say that 5 engineers at PayPal went on to migrate a $1.7 billion bank processing app from Oracle to Google in just under 6 weeks. Agents did 98% of the work in that case, and of course human review was done on the final pass. So 98% AI, 2% human. We then shifted gears a little bit and heard a little bit about the credentialing problem that nobody's talking about. I mean, I certainly am talking about it, but one speaker was talking about how 90% of security pros were surveyed and they were told to loosen policy controls just to let AI move faster. I'm certainly guilty of that, but for me, it's more so about negotiation. What can we ship today with the bare minimum amount of security that as we learn more about our gaps, about the things that we're not able to see and expose, can we fill in over time? They did talk about a real incident. A database admin handed an agent their own credentials to clean up a database. You've heard this story dozens of times by now, I'm sure. And so in this case, the agent started looking around for more access, more credentials. They found them. They found the access they wanted and wiped a database, right? Cleaned it up means deleting it. So one of the things that was shared and just so happens to be the approach that I'm taking as well, which is not necessarily about inventorying your agents. I mean, that's certainly an important aspect, but it's more so about distinguishing the human acting from the human agent acting. So in my real world examples, I'm working on some agent classification and agent tiers, if you will, that kind of go through exactly what each agent can do. And so this talk that I was listening in on kind of reiterated that idea and kind of reaffirmed that it is a good one, to make it clear that like these are the things that agents are explicitly disallowed, prohibited from doing, and this is what they can do. And then we heard of a stat that was shared during this talk as well, which is that agents can outnumber humans in an organization 40-1. And, manual policy writing just doesn't scale at that ratio. First sales pitch of the day was all about AI sprawl already being here, which, yeah, no shit, it is here. AI sprawl is real, it's happening. The presenter went on to talk about how like orgs think they know their AI footprint, and pitched a discovery tool that typically finds 4 to 6 times more than what companies believe they have. And I have no doubt that that is true. Even in my situation, I know that there are things out there in the world and the environment that I don't know about. But, I think what rubbed me the wrong way with this one is it sounded like an intriguing topic. It sounded like something we were going to learn how this organization solved this problem, what they did. And sure, we did. We learned about it, but we learned that there's a tool that this person was pitching that can do the heavy lifting for us. The one interesting takeaway from that talk, though, was that for all of us, really, our AI programs, our AI Center of Excellences are as simple as they will ever be today, right? They're only going to get more complex as time passes, and so that definitely holds a lot of weight for me. Next one was an intriguing one, which talked about legacy brands and invisible rules. This person really shared something that resonated with me as well, which is that brands don't get tired, rules do, right? So a brand does not get tired. In reality, though, the brand is just optimized for yesterday. The rules, the policies, the procedures that they have in place are for an organization that was established in a world that really no longer exists, and that those rules can no longer keep up with. She talked about Hasbro assuming that it was just a toy company until it reframed itself as an intellectual property company, which unlocked a lot of transformation for them. She went on to talk about Tupperware, which, as you all know, revolved around the Tupperware party, and that direct selling model it didn't evolve. It didn't survive the changing customer, and so bankruptcy was on the table, and that is what forced them to change its perspective. And then the stat that she shared, which by the way, her name was Samantha Lomo. She shared a stat that was 81% of leaders think their organization is embracing AI, but only 53% of employees agree with that statistic. So the belief is the belief, the gap is the belief, not technology. We're almost done here, so hang in there. Indeed took a little bit of time to talk about their journey, which I appreciated. I love to hear more about companies that are going through these journeys. And, software developer postings are up 15% since Copilot has launched. And if you remember, Copilot was one of the earliest tools that kind of became mainstream in the coding sphere. Every other US job posting is down 7% in the same window, but engineering is up. So all of the software engineers out there, if you're worried about not having a job, I think, the 15% increase over the span of this whole AI journey is a testament that you will likely be safe. Indeed went on to say that that AI is stripping toil away, not necessarily headcount, and so every past industrial shift created more jobs than it killed. So if you introduced the backhoe, the mill, the any number of power tools used in construction and the trades, more likely they added more jobs because demand increased, because you can actually now meet the demand, and oh, by the way, now people want more. And then the career advice that came from that Indeed session was interesting, which is that the portfolio of things you've built with AI today is really beating a resume line about knowing AI. Don't just put, I know how to use ChatGPT on my resume. Put together a portfolio. Like, what can you do? What kind of skills have you put together? What kind of agents did you deploy? What software and services did you build? Just something to think about. And then at the end of the day, we rounded things out with KPIs, everybody's favorite topic, key performance indicators. And really, there was nothing new for me in this talk here. They were focused on cost, revenue, retention, all the things that typically revolve around transformation and change, especially in what I would refer to as like customer service type roles, which is, the positioning of the talk. They had a good takeaway, they had a good line, which was that activity metrics are the most useless KPI category. And so when you think about activity metrics, that's like lines of code, prompts, tokens consumed, right? Because the example they gave was that if you have 10 prompts and 9 of them are bad, that's kind of a failure, right? Like, cool, you did 10 prompts, great, but you only had 1 good one. Like, there's opportunity there. That's not really a usage win. But again, like I was saying, almost every KPI example from that talk was customer service and call center metrics. Barely anything about knowledge work or workflow redesign. And so, that talk specifically, it resonated with me as one that was mostly optimizing for replacing repetitive, lower skilled labor, not necessarily transforming how skilled work gets done, which, there are financial benefits from that type of replacement, right? But I think the real gain with AI is on the skilled work side. But yeah, so that is the recap of the talks that I was able to attend on day 2. I'll jump back on tomorrow for a debrief of the final day and head back home. So until next time, see you around. Bye.